Hey there, everybody. It's Jenny Clark with Solvability. We've got another session of Freedom Friday with my friend Josh Frank. How you doing today, Josh?
I am doing peachy. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing terrific, and I was puzzled by the topic you came up with because I thought, well, this guy's really with it if he's going to talk about balance. Because we can always talk about business, but you can't really enjoy what you're doing in your life if you're not getting results, and balance is a big piece of it. So, give us some wisdom today, Josh. Tell us about balance and how people get it.
Oh, well, you don't get it, you make it. And to be clear, balance, that's the balance between business and family, right? And many of us don't have it, right, at all. Uh, but, I think before you can, as you talk about that whole balance of business and family, whether you are simply an employee of a company or you're a business owner, in today's day and age, money, a lot of people believe that money is necessary in order for you to balance. And what I mean by that, it's sort of like indirect. Don't have money for vacations, don't have money for leaving the house. And I know a lot of the folks that we work with, right? All of us that are within our GovCon community. I don't know. I would assume that we've got more money, right? That, or at least we have a savings. Right before we came on here today, I Googled and I was like, I found this survey, and it's on the Motley Fool. And 39% of Americans don't have enough money on hand to cover a $400 emergency. Think about that. 4 out of 10 Americans don't have $400. Car breaks down. The kids need shoes for school. You can go on and on. Only 71% of Americans have a savings account. Most Americans have between 1,000 to 5,000 in savings. That's, the other, 60%. 56% have less than 5,000, right? A third have 1,000 or less. So from an American perspective, we're all about, there's a lot of issues that go into it. And this is not the session for, is minimum wage enough and all that. But balancing family and business, your work, I think a lot of people feel, and probably rightfully so for a lot of them, that it's hard to balance when you're totally stressed out. And I totally believe that. Totally believe that. And so a couple of things, I'll throw these out and then Jenny, you can jump back in. One, yes, balance is not just about money, right? I mean, I can see Emily Harmon is on here today. And, I guarantee you there's a lot more than just money out there. There's mindset and all kinds of other things. But the average American, you don't have any money, you are totally stressed out. Totally stressed out. It's really freaking hard to balance your happiness, right, between your business and your family in your private life. So a couple things. Number one, save something. I don't care if it's $5. It could be $5, $10, whatever you can afford, but you always pay yourself first. Always pay yourself first. Doesn't matter what kind of bills you have. You must have an emergency fund of something, right? Number two, you got to celebrate your small successes. You got to celebrate the small things. You had a good call with a prospect. You didn't close a contract, but you had a good call. Celebrate it. Have a glass of wine, smoke a cigar, go out in the garden for an hour and, I don't know, do whatever you do with your tulips. Whatever you have fun doing, celebrate the small successes. The biggest, vacations. And you don't have to have money for it, but take time off. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this at all. I take like one vacation at the end of the year, right? I've got a big, I take off week of Christmas, and then I take off another week and I go to Mexico and, sit on the beach and watch my kids, swim in the pool, play in the ocean. My business partner, he's on here today as well, Mike. He's always beating the hell out of me. You need to take time off, because I get very stressed when I'm not getting time off, and we have a lot of work that we do. And so 3-day weekends, 4-day weekends, schedule them out. I still have not done that for the rest of this year. Mike, remind me. So, don't just plan these big vacations. Take some time off, 3-4-day weekends. Yes, there's always, I can't tell you how many business owners that I work with, and they're like, I went on vacation, but that proposal was due. You got to do what you got to do. And I'm like, yeah, not really. Some things have to fall through the cracks. That's those 3 or 4 days that you take off, you turn your phone off, you just get away, you recharge so you can accomplish twice as much, if you didn't take the time off. So that's next one. Turn off your phone. Turn off your phone, right? I do that. I'm doing that now. About 6 p.m., my phone goes off. That's it. So, I don't personally do a great job of balancing family and business, my family life with my business life. And some of you may be going, well, why the hell are you talking to us about it then if you can't do it yourself? I'm not an expert at everything. So something that I work on, but that's a couple of things that I'm working on myself. So anyway, there you have it.
Well, Josh, that sounds like a really good list of things. And I think we're all working to improve ourselves in whichever way we can. And the definition of success doesn't mean money. It means, how do you enjoy it? How do you enjoy your life? How does it enable you to be there? And I think what you're talking about as far as paying yourself first is super important. And they say, you should have a 6-month emergency fund. And if you're not doing those kind of things, you're always in a stress level. And I know that happens to me because it's like, well, I can't miss out on this phone call because what if it led to an opportunity? And you're so correct about that. The other thing that I thought was interesting is the whole idea of turning off your phone, because if you don't turn off your phone, sometimes you're never going to be present with your family. Mm-hmm. And, you kind of get in this habit where you're not present. And so they're used to it. And after a while, they just work around you and they don't even know that you're there because you're not really there. I like really the other thing you said about the long weekends. You know what? The next long weekend coming up is Labor Day weekend in September. We got a Monday off. And it's almost like when there's a Monday off, I think, well, my customers aren't working today, so it's a perfect day for me to work. How do I break my habits?
Yeah. And by the way, whenever they're, for me I always try to take the Friday off when there's a Monday off, right? So I get a full 4-day. And to your question, I used to work a lot of those Mondays. Nowadays, I'll say, you know what? I'm going to work a night or two. Or I'll wait a weekend. I'll wait till there's a weekend. It's not a 4-day. Maybe I'll do a couple hours one Saturday morning. But yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah. So,
well, it's part of the discipline of having the time off, and the whole idea of doing the federal contracting as a revenue stream. People are always looking at, well, what can I do when the government has me work all September to do all these proposals? I think that's the hardest one, is trying to reach anybody during the month of September, because there's all this year-end money, but you work with people to make sure they got a plan all along, right?
Yeah. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about this. Drives me nuts. If you actually look at percentage-wise, right, from Q1 to Q4 for the government, how much more are they spending in Q4? In general, on average, every quarter is about 25%. That includes Q4. Now, I don't know if it was last year, year before, 28% of all the spend for the year was in Q4. So, this is a wives' tale. It's a wives' tale that there's like this massive, yes, there are hundreds of billions of dollars that are being spent in Q4, but it's not much more than what's being spent in Q1, Q2, Q3. And so for folks to go, wow, we're just so crazy busy in Q4 and, we're going to need time off afterwards. You know what that tells me? That tells me from a business perspective, you're not doing the right things the rest of the year because you shouldn't be so crazy in Q4. Now, if you have a couple, of proposals and you're like, hey, these are all good, then fine. But you're not burning the wick at both ends in Q4 simply because it's end of year. And if you're not doing as much work in Q1, 2, and 3 as you're doing in 4, then there's something wrong with your business strategy. Anyway, I sorry, soapbox.
No, I think you're right about it. And it just seems to me like it's always the summertime, nobody's really doing anything because there are so many people taking vacations off. But what you're also saying is that managing your time throughout the year, managing your pipeline throughout the year is a big piece of that to make it work.
It's huge. Yeah. Final thing on Q4, and anybody that's heard me ever talk has heard this before. Question: how do you successfully sell in Q4? Answer: you do the right activities in Qs 1, 2, and 3. Consistently. That's right. If you want to have just a bang up Q4, then do the right business development activities in Q1, 2, and 3. And if you do that, you'll be in front of the right people. They'll know who you are. The primes will know who you are. You'll get onto plenty of teams. You'll get calls from contracting officers. I go on and on. All these companies that, to include a lot of our clients, right, that don't have the right perception on this. It's like, well, what can I do in Q4? Well, you can do the same things that you were doing in Q1, Q2, and Q3, right? So anyway.
And so the 3 most important things they need to be doing on a regular basis, it sounds like, is talking to people, find out what's going on. And so many people feel like, well, if I don't answer that phone call, nothing's going to happen. But it's like, you got to make things happen, right?
No, yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to hijack this and go all the way back to balancing business with family, because we could talk forever on GovCon. But no, if anybody that's listening to this live or listening to it on demand, you have to proactively, right? First and foremost, and you can still balance without this, but if you don't have any emergency funds, you are so stressed that I don't know how you can balance, right? In fact, I'm going to say right now, I don't feel that you can successfully balance your personal life with your business life and have both of them at least happy, where you're comfortable in each, unless you know that if there's an emergency, you have a couple $100,000, whatever it is. I mean, yeah, you want 6 months. Like you said, Jenny, you want 6 months cushion. Absolutely. You want that. But until you get to 6 months, make your goal $1,000. Make your goal $2,000, right? Something, right? And you don't put it in your checking account. Go open up another account. Open up an account that a debit card doesn't exist, right? When they give you a debit card, cut it up, right? The only way to get money out of your emergency account is to transfer it online or to go walk into the bank and go, I need money, right? So I don't, number one, you gotta have some emergency fund. It's some people are going to yell at me, Jenny, and go, money's not happiness. Well, yeah, sure, but it sure does make things a lot easier.
Well, the whole idea of an emergency fund is to make sure that you're not always chasing around after things getting in your way and it disrupts what else you're trying to accomplish, because you want to plan for how you're going to get there and know that that's how it's going to work. What about the whole idea of, you mentioned celebrating your small successes. I think people forget about that all the time of trying to say, well, if I'm not, I need to look every single day and be grateful for what I happen to recognize it. So I don't get to the end of the week and say, well, God, that was a sucky week. I wish I had even gotten up for that week. This negativity spreads so badly.
Well, and this will come as absolutely no shock to anyone, but I'm a box person. I am all about boxes, checking off boxes, right?
That is so neatly written and everything.
Yeah, well, I've got I'm me, I'm type A, OCD, obsessive compulsive, and all the other fun stuff that everybody makes fun of me for. But, for me, checking off boxes, that puts me in my warm, soft spot, right? I just feel all good inside, all right, that's enough of the metaphors. But, that's celebrating small successes. And again, whether it's a drink of wine, it's something, whatever you enjoy, treat yourself to. Doesn't have to be expensive, right? You don't need to have a ton of money, but do something to celebrate those small things. When you submit a bid, right? A bid or a proposal or whatever, right? Don't care what the market is, commercial, residential, state, local, federal, you submit a bid, celebrate it. Nobody celebrates those small things. They only celebrate if they win the contract. Well, you're going to be one sad, sorry, angry person if all you do is celebrate when you actually win something. And that's not a way to live your life. So anyway, my 2 cents.
You're absolutely right about that, because, the people will win a big contract. And then the next thing is they start rushing and saying, well, I got to get all these things done. Got to get all these things done. And the only way to set these goals and change the way you're operating is to operate differently. So whatever the tendency is, slow down. I think I talked the other day about I am always in a hurry, hurry. And how do I slow down from that? So I'm planning to use some of the advice that you gave me. I'm turning off my phone after we get off this call because it is Friday. It is the weekend, and you've given me some inspiration to get through. So thanks so much for being on today, Josh. Hey, if you want to reach you at RSM Federal and talk to you about this or other topics, how do they reach out to you?
So several different ways. First, probably connect with me on LinkedIn, right?
Okay.
So you'll, look for the bald head, the goatee, the pretty face. Just find me on LinkedIn, Joshua Frank. You can send an email to contact@rsmfederal.com. And, I didn't tell anybody, I specialize in helping companies win government contracts. So if you want to know more about our company and what we do, that's rsmfederal.com. So thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, I'm glad. And I'm also glad to be an RSM Federal coach, and looking forward to bringing some more people together for what we do all together. So y'all have a great weekend, and thanks so much for being on.